talk about tradition, honor, and passion, you know, he's right up there in that list with Chris Armas or Peter Novak or Frank Kolpus. You know, he brought that grit. He brought that Chicago toughness.
Jesse, you know, he Wisconsin boy, so he was pretty close to Chicago area. One thing Jesse brought to Chicago was a lot of championships.
You know, Jesse Marsh was really a good player. He was overshadowed a bit as a player by Peter Novak and the guys he played with. He played on some real good teams, but he was as consistent and all-around player as the Fire as it really has ever had.
You know, one thing he brought was a lot of character to training every day, and definitely brought a lot of attitude to our team.
Yeah, if any player has bridged the gap, it's Logan. Logan has been a very good captain, I think. He had a tough act to follow in Chris Armas. They played the same position, and they followed up as captain. But I think Logan's done it. I mean, Logan has held the team together in some couple of real lean seasons for a while.
Yeah, for me, I think Logan represents everything that professional sports should be. He's just a class act on and off the field. You know exactly what you're going to get out of him.
You know, I think Logan's always been underrated, and I've probably been guilty of that too. You know, he's really grown into the role of captain. He's really grown into the role of taking over for Chris Armas in that holding midfielder spot. He's really done a good job with the team.
I think he'll admit himself he got to where he is because of his work ethic. That's how he plays still. You know, he's one of the fittest guys. Coming in day one in preseason, he's one of the fittest guys at the end of the season.
Chris Rolfe is another one of my favorites. You know, his personality, you know, the way he's outgoing, but he's not one of those guys who naturally looks for the attention, the limelight. But you know, he was just growing as a player when he left, and you know, it was tough for the Fire to lose him when they did, because he was becoming so good.
Yeah, Chris it's hard for me to look back now on the days when he was here. I mean, I always remember him as a good player back then, of course. But I think now, since his 3 years in Denmark, he's come back as a better all-around player than he was when he was originally with the team.
You look at him and you don't see a guy who's fast, but he is. You don't see a guy who's tough, but he is. You know, you don't see a guy who looks like he's going to have a good shot, but he does. You know, he can strike from distance. He can strike from, you know, he can be a poacher when it calls for it.
I think that he did a good thing in coming back. It was good for the Fire, and I think it was good for him as well. But as I say, his versatility is much better than I remember it being prior to his run in Denmark.